prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close to it all. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hungaroring. Are you ready to burn some rubber? We certainly are, and we can't wait for the second race of the weekend to get started. And I'm here with Jamie Green. Now Jamie, today you're starting from P6, so do you have some magic down your sleeve you can do so we can hopefully see you on podium today?
Well, the races are obviously unpredictable as we saw yesterday, so I think it's hard to really be sure what you can do, what you can achieve. But you know, sixth isn't that far. I've won races from sixth on the grid before, so yeah, we'll keep pushing until we see the checkered flag.
I'm sure you will. Now, speaking of yesterday, you finished in P7, but then you were disqualified. I know it's an ongoing process, but how do you feel about that, especially since hearing that the hint to the stewards was given by Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, I heard that Mercedes appealed something on my car. Obviously, I'm the driver. I don't prepare the car. So yeah, I just focus on my job. And if we do lose those points, it will be a shame for me. But ultimately, all I can do is focus on my job and drive the car to the best of my ability. And that's what I'll do.
As you mentioned, it would be a big shame, but because it would be 6 points missing in the battle for the championship, which is all about, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why it would be a shame. But as I said, I can't control it, so I'll focus on what I can control.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie, and back to you, because now we're going to be talking about yesterday's race. Here's a little summary.
Thanks very much, Farina. Yesterday we saw René Rast starting for the first time in DTM from pole position. It was Audi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the grid. It was 3 abreast into turn 1. Jamie Green in the orange Audi had a big luck down the inside of René Rast. René was able to keep it going around the outside on the exit to turn 1, downhill then into turn 2. It was a clean start at the front of the pack, but it wasn't always the case further down the field as Maxime Martin came together with BMW brand mate Tom Blomqvist. Tom spun, quickly recovered, but was at the back of the field. There were some very early pit stops for Bruno Spengler from 17th on the grid, Paul de Resta in the Mercedes from 13th on the grid, and from 14th, Timo Glock. And then a few laps later, this Maxime Martin stopping on the circuit. It brought out the safety car, and that had a huge influence on the race, because those 3 cars that had pitted early were able to gain back a lot of the time that they had lost. On the restart then, more shenanigans down at turn 2. 3 cars coming into contact. Lucas Auer, one of them, the championship leader. The pink Mercedes also in strife after a good early part of the race was Augusto Farfus. Nico Muller also involved in the incident. So as Timo Glock and Bruno Spengler tried to chase down Paul de Resta for the first of the pit stoppers, there was this coming together after Jamie Green had come out of the pits on fresh rubber, trying to defend his position from Eduardo Matara's Mercedes. Edo quite forceful coming through at the chicane. It wasn't without contact, that manoeuvre. Mike Rockenfeller then was flying at the end of the race. He got back ahead of Matthias Ekstrom and then set about trying to catch those cars on older tyres that had early pit stops. He caught right up to Bruno Spengler for the last couple of laps of the race. This was into turn 1 at the start of the final lap of the race. race. Rocky getting very, very close, but Bruno Spengler with some terrific defensive driving, able to fend him off just about for a final place on the podium. The checkered flag came out from 13th place. It was victory for Mercedes. Paul di Resta, Timo Glock in second place and nose to tail for third. But just hanging on, as I say, was Bruno Spengler to take his first podium since last year. Paul di Resta then, our race victor for the first time this season. Verena Vries is speaking to him ahead of today's race.
And here I am with Paul di Resta. Now, yesterday you managed from P13 to victory. Today you're starting from P12, so perhaps with a really good strategy, perhaps an early pit stop, and a bit of luck, you might be able to repeat that.
It's one less car, isn't it? Looks like Rocky also has a problem, so there's another less car to go round. But Audi are very dominant. BMW look very strong today as well compared to us. So it's going to be an interesting race. I think it's a lot warmer today, a lot more difficult, but you can never write it off in DTM. And you know, one very small mistake, as I didn't qualify and again, is very costly in grid position. So it's never over until it's over, and we'll fight and see what the tyres and how they last with this new softer rubber.
All right then, Paul. Thank you so much. Best of luck for the race, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Let's see what Paul can do this time out. We've seen lots of drivers coming from further back down the grid to get podiums. Here is how the grid is going to shape up. On pole position for the second time in 2 days, René Rast. Marco Wittmann starts alongside. And then on row 2, we've got Matthias Ekstrom and Nico Muller, who will be challenging for Audi. Now, Mike Rockenfeller should be 5th on the grid, but the car is not starting at the moment, so they're just Jamie Green's car there. If they can get it fired up, he'll start from the pit lane. Lucas Auer and Timo Glock line up on the 4th row of the grid. And then on row 5, to complete the top 10, Augusto Farfus looking for his first points of the season. Tom Blomqvist, after a difficult start to 2017, looking for a strong result here. Gary Paffett in 11th. Paul di Resta, yesterday's race winner, starting in 12th in the Mercedes. Robert Wickens had a puncture in yesterday's race. He's 13th. Edo Matara got into the points. He starts this one from 14th on the grid. Le Mans winner Loic Duval and Maro Engel line up 15th and 16th. And then the final row of the grid, Bruno Spengler, exactly where he started yesterday, 17th. Maxime Martin qualified 16th, but carries a 3-place grid penalty off the back of the incident in yesterday's race. So René Rast on pole position once again, down there to catch up with him, Verena Vries.
Yes, and he's just being strapped into the car right in this moment, obviously, because the race is going to start just shortly. So it is a bit of a déjà vu I'm having right here, because yesterday in pole position, today in pole position again. But I bet that today René is hoping, obviously, for a clean start. So I'm just going to try to butt in there quickly. René, just quickly, yesterday pole position, today again. However, you're hoping for a clean race, I bet, and hopefully you have a very good strategy.
Yeah, obviously yesterday with the strategy we were a bit unlucky, but hopefully today will be a bit better without safety car, but you never know. Obviously I hope for a good start and then a clean race, but yeah, sometimes it's racing and strategy is not on your side.
All right, thank you very much. Best of luck for the race. So let's see. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, good to hear from René Rast, who's a real star of not just German, but international motorsport as a triple Porsche Super Cup champion, double champion in the German Porsche Carrera Cup, and some success, plenty of success in GT Masters and other GT racing as well. Tom Blomqvist, who is one of the many race winners that we have in the field. 15 of the 18 drivers this season are proven DTM race winners, including that man, former championship runner-up, Augusto Farfus. Caught up with him yesterday, and he was bitterly disappointed after what was a really strong performance from him. He was hanging on to the lead quartet of Audis. He was the top non-Audi in the race, but then you saw the replay from yesterday's race causing him problems. Just ahead of him on the grid, Timo Glock. Fantastic drive and strategy yesterday. Really looked after the tyres well as well, having pitted very early in the race to manage the Hankooks all the way to the checkered flag. So popular figure here. Timo Glock, in terms of the championship, is the leading light so far this season for BMW. The leading light overall is that man, Lucas Auer. It's been a difficult weekend so far. For the first time this season, he didn't finish in the points yesterday, but he's got a stronger grid position this time around. He's the best qualified Mercedes for this race. Jamie Green, very mixed weekend. Went really well in qualifying yesterday. Looked like he was going to challenge for a podium at least in the race. Then, of course, the strategy went away with that safety car coming out. He didn't quite have the pace to stay out as long as he would have liked to stretch his advantage before he came to pit. Couldn't get the life out of the tyres. And then this disqualification overnight that we mentioned in qualifying. Mike Rockenfeller should be 5th. The car is not on the grid. There it is, still being worked on, and so he won't be able to start from the grid. Even if they get that sorted, he'll have to start from the pit lane. real shame for a championship front runner. So Nico Müller then is the Swiss driver looking for his second win, who lines up just in front. So there is a great shot of the grid -1. You can see the gap there up towards the top left corner of your picture where Mike Rockenfeller should be. Very hot conditions here. It's been slightly mixed weather. We've had some rain on Friday. We've had some humid weather, some dark clouds, some spots of rain. Today's the best day of the weekend so far, though, as you look at the grid. Chris Hartley here in the commentary box overlooking a packed grandstand. There's a really big, enthusiastic crowd here at the Hungaroring. Love their motorsport and really enjoying the DTM weekend. And alongside me in the commentary box, we'll say hello for the first time today to Leo Gorman.
Chris, yeah, it's an excellent crowd today. Very much a packed grandstand, as you say, below us and down into towards turn 1. But a little bit of a gap, as you said, on the third row of that grid. And you know what? If I'm Luca Sauer, after a bad day yesterday, I'm going to be looking to take as much advantage of that as humanly possible, because now you've got a clean road just in front of you, where maybe normally would have had to vie for position with Rocky. He's just going to shoot straight off the line and try and gain as much of that as humanly possible.
So there is the crowd all ready to go and hoping for a much better day today. Our Audi and Dieter Gas is speaking to Verena.
Dieter Gas, now the first question I have to ask obviously is, what is the matter with the car of Mike Rockenfeller? He's still in the box. What happened?
Yeah, just when we wanted to leave to go to the grid, we found a small leak or brake fluid at the end of the day between the pedals. And when we checked, we found a leak in a brake hose, which we had to replace, and unfortunately we couldn't do that in the time which was available to go to the grid, including bleeding the brakes and everything. So I have been informed that he will start at the end of the formation lap, so he will be able to go to the grid, but in the last position.
Okay, and now the other question being, you've got 4 Audis in the top 5. Are you going to have an interesting strategy perhaps this time, bringing your top boys in early to avoid a safety car phase, perhaps ruining your race?
Yeah, I hope we are better prepared today. It was a mistake yesterday and a bit unfortunate, because we were on our way in when the safety car came out. But today we try to improve on that, and I hope really that we can make something out of our grid positions today.
Thank you very much. Best of luck for the race, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Good to find out exactly what the problem there was for Rocky. So anyway, the good news is that he is going to be able to start the race. Update to the points after qualifying, because points to the top 3 in qualifying. Lucas Sauer, 69. Jamie Green, 55. Mike Rockenfeller is going to start from the back now, from the pit lane, 53. Fourth, Gary Paffett on 52. René Rast has jumped ahead of Timo Glock and Matthias Ekström for the points he picked up. The 3 of them he got for pole position. So René Rast sneaking like a sniper up the championship table, and should he get his first DTM win today, and it's entirely possible, then, you know, 3 rounds gone, 6 races gone, a long way to go to the championship. He should be very much in the mix. So the grid is being cleared. Let's find out how BMW think their prospects are with Verena today.
I'm here with Jens Marquardt. Now, BMW seems to be struggling a little bit this weekend, but with Marco Wittmann, you've got a top man in P2. So let me find out, what does he have that the others perhaps don't have, and what are you hoping for in the race?
Well, I mean, we've got Marco in the first and some guys in the last row. So, yes, we've covered the whole field. Got some guys in the middle as well. I think Marco got a really good lap together, and he found his setup probably a bit better. And timing-wise, in the second qualifying run, some of our guys could not improve. That was for sure not ideal. But I think overall we've learned quite a few things yesterday also in the race, and we have to see how race pace is. I'm sure that Timo, Augusto and Tom will do something, and we'll see.
Best of luck. Thank you very much. And now let's get racing. So back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Jens Marquardt there from BMW. Very happy, I'm sure, off the back of those 2 sort of surprise podiums that they got yesterday. And Marco Wittmann, the reigning champion, is there second on the grid, as we know. What we didn't mention was the fact that he was only 63 thousandths of a second slower than René Rast. He was very nearly on pole position, but it is by far and away the defending champion's best grid position of the year so far. So whatever strategy and plan they had with Mike Rockenfeller, that's probably going to go on its head now. And if you're at the back of the field, you might as well try something different. And Mike is coming out of the garage. So Mike Rockenfeller, we heard that it was likely, and it is definitely going to happen now. They've got the car sorted. The brake fluid problem has been hopefully rectified, and he's going to start the race from the pit lane. But this may be now resulting in a change of plan. We have seen so far with drivers and teams able to pit whenever they like. It's a mandatory pit stop, but you can pit when you want in the race. Usually it's drivers from the back of the field that pit early. Problem with that, Lee, is that you are then in risk of running out of tyres on a much hotter day today. Will the Hankooks be able to go the whole distance if we see drivers coming in on lap 1 like Bruno Spengler did, on lap 6 like Timo Glock did yesterday? But the advantage, as we saw yesterday, if you pit early, safety car comes out afterwards, you get back all the time you lost, because during the safety car periods you can pit, but it doesn't count as one of your mandatory pit stops.
I think that's partially something that you can use to play to your advantage. I think if teams are kind of banking on the safety car, well, it's probably really not a winning strategy, because you're kind of hoping for something outside of your own circumstances to bring you back into the game. It's probably a bigger thing for the teams, for Rocky, if they do decide to pit early, that they actually just sit, when they're sitting in clean air after they do the pit stop, just to maintain a solid pace. Be quick, don't be too fast. There's no need, there's no desire to push hugely early, put in qualifying laps, because by the end of the race, you're going to be falling down the order. However, if you can actually do some solid laps with some solid times, stay out of trouble, it actually will do an awful lot of benefit, as the field in front of you are actually battling in traffic and losing time as a result.
They saw the circuit map. It is 14 turns, a couple of very high-speed corners, but mostly it's mid-speed corners, but they flow one into the other, so the tyres never get much chance to cool down. There's Dieter Gass, head of Audi there, giving high fives to the team. They absolutely need a result today to cheer them up after what was a missed opportunity yesterday. Air temperature, 27 degrees. That's 3 or 4 degrees higher than yesterday. Track temperatures, you see, much, much higher, nearly 37 degrees. The wind speed has dropped considerably. It was real strong headwind going into turn 1 yesterday. So we'll see what they're going to do with these strategies. As I say, you can just be unlucky. A lot of the drivers yesterday, and this season, there's no team-to-driver radio communication allowed. It has to be done via pit boards, unless it's for safety reasons. They all knew on the in the garages and in the pit wall that the safety car was going to come out yesterday, but they couldn't really get that message across to the drivers. And some of them were just about to come in. And certainly Rob Wickens spoke to us yesterday after the race. He was one of them. And then the safety car was deployed. They hadn't got to the safety car, but they got the message that the track was under safety car conditions, and there was no point then pitting. So the only option left was to try and stretch back away once the safety car came in. So here we go. We've got 17 drivers on the grid. We've got one starting from the pit lanes. René Rast on pole position for Audi Sport Team Rosberg. The BMW of the double champion Marco Wittmann for Team RMG alongside. And the championship leader Lucas Auer 7th, but with a big gap in front of him where Mike Rockenfeller's car should be. So let's see if he can get one of his demon starts here. Okay, lights on, 55 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. We are go here at the Hungaroring. Tremendous start for René Rast. Off the line he goes. Under into line. René Rast miles clear. And charging into second place is going to be Nico Müller, because Marco Wittmann has struggled off the line here in the BMW. Mike Rockenfeller ready to go from the pit lane. Third is going to be Wittmann, just extra in 4th place. Jamie Green 5th. Lucas Auer tucks in behind in 6th place, and they make their way out of turn 1 down towards turn 2 for the first time. Absolutely demon start for René Rast, and a very good start for Nico Müller as well. Do they all get through turn 2 this time? Yes, but it's side by side here with Paul de Resta just sneaking past Augusto Farfus. So Paul has gained 2 or 3 positions at the start of the race from 12th on the grid. I reckon that puts him up to 8th place. He's gained 4 spots. Rast then, the German leads. Nico Müller, winner at the Norris Ring last year, running in 2nd place just behind. Then it's Wittmann, the first of the BMWs. Audi's 4th and 5th with Ekstrom and Green. Auer 6th in the Mercedes with a decent start as well. Glock, de Resta, Farfus and Paffett rounding out the top 10 as they make their way through this second sector now. You're on board with the race leader, René Rast. He led yesterday, but he was overtaken in the race before all of the safety car dramas by one of his brand teammates with Tyres Extra with a very, very good move into turn 1. So Jamie Green there, adjusting the brake bias. There he is in the orange number 53 car, one of the championship front runners. He's got to make sure he keeps Lucas Auer behind him, but there are all sorts of other championship contenders other than Lucas to worry about here. René Rast might just be one of them. He leads the race. Nice clean start, Lee. But tremendous getaway off the line for René Rast. There was no doubt about it. He was getting to turn 1 first.
Absolutely wonderful start, clean off the line, kept the momentum going in both stages of the start, and was well ahead of Wittmann as Wittmann bogs down slightly, allowing Muller to actually just get by and really force the issue. And here comes Rocky, who actually had a good start himself.
We push for a quick pit stop.
Straight into the pits. We're pushing for a quick pit stop is the message on the radio. So he starts from the pit lane. I thought they might do this. He comes in early. Maxime Martin is another to come in early. The nose to tail into the pits. It's a race between the pit crews. Only 8 allowed to work on the car these days. Only 1 gun to change the tyres. So much slower pit stops than we've had in the past. Yeah, we are looking at normally 7 seconds or less. Martin, 7.2. That's okay. Slow pit stop, 10.4.
Push, Rocky.
We push, right, so you can see how much further behind. There were nose to tail, how much further behind he is. But Mike Rockenfeller, he's a driver that's been able to look after his tyres. And he came from 16th on the grid to finish 3rd in one of the races at Hockenheim. So he knows how to manage these tyres.
And that's not necessarily what Rocky actually wanted. He would have liked to have come into the pits, just maybe do it solo, had a free course in front of him. Yeah. But what he has now, he's coming into the pits, done his stop. But he's actually got Maxime Martin in front of him. That's the following another car so closely. You get the dirty air that makes the front of the car move around a little bit more, can actually help wreck the tyres a little bit quicker. So that's not necessarily an ideal strategy for Rocky at this stage of the race. What's that? Another driver who's actually one driver who had a poor start as well is Edo Mortara, who actually dropped to the very back of the grid.
Maro Engel under investigation for an inaccurate grid position. So Maro on his return season to DTM. 24-hour race winner under investigation.
And what that means is obviously he's not actually gone into someone else's grid spot. He's actually probably just missed or gone over the line of his grid box, and it could only be a few centimetres, but possibly a little bit too far forward in his grid box, and has therefore missed his actual optimum starting position.
That's right. So Mike Rockenfeller, Maxime Martin hoping that something similar happens later. 5-second penalty for Maro Engel, I'm afraid. So we'll be able to serve that when he comes in for his mandatory pit stop. He'll have to go into the penalty box first, then go to his pit box. He doesn't have to come in separately to serve that penalty.
And that's a bit of a slam dunk, because obviously it's sensors on the grid boxes as well, and sensors on the car, so the stewards would pick that up almost instantly.
Yeah, obviously you've got a limited vision out the cockpit of those cars as well, so it is more difficult than you think to line the cars up onto the grid box, and it's not an uncommon penalty that we see there. So Rast leading by 1.5 seconds, and this is part of the reason why, look at him, 33 on pole position, demon start. Marco Wittmann doesn't get away so well. And red lights still on. Off he goes. It's as close to perfect as you can get, I think, that, isn't it? Bang! Away he goes. Wittmann on the right of the picture really struggled. Edo Mortara had a duff start as well, further back in the second of the pink Mercedes, but Rast was there, and then Muller getting straight into second place, and Wittmann had to defend hard then, didn't he, from Eki and from Green to hold on to his position.
What Wittmann's done there is actually his initial launch off the line was absolutely fine, his first stage of the launch, but the second he moved into a second gear, that's when it actually bogged down and stalled completely. So his initial getaway was looking fine, but then just couldn't carry through to the next stage of the start.
That's right. So some replays on the off the line and on the way into turn 1. Matthias Ekstrom, meanwhile, has just come into the pits. So has Loic Duval, and so has Edo Mortara. So more early pit stops here. I did wonder if this might happen, because obviously it was the way to go yesterday, whether more would follow suit and give it a go. So Matthias Ekstrom, that looks like a pretty good stop. We didn't have the clock on it, but that looks pretty handy to me. Mortara's away. He should be out in front of Loic Duval. Just is he? Let's wait and see. Oh, it's going to be tight, this. Loic Duval just gets out the Audi ahead of the Mercedes.
And a 7.6 second stop for Mortara and 7 seconds for Duval. That's good. And we're going to see these two drivers now, and Eki ahead, struggle on their first lap out.
Yeah, no, Rocky, look, he's coming after them. He's got his tyres up to temperature. Mortara tries to block him. He's going to get him on the exit, and then he's going to try very quickly to get up to the next car. But we had a chat with Jamie Green after the race yesterday, and said, would I be right in thinking, Jamie, that it's not so difficult getting the tyres up to speed here as it was at the Lausitz ring, where drivers were all over the shop for the first 3 or 4 corners once they went out on cold tyres? He said, yeah, you're right, it's very difficult. It's the sort of corners you get at the Lausitz ring, and the surface there do mean it's harder to get the tyres up to temperature, as Rocky fires one down the inside of Loic Duval, and the Audi passes the Audi. So Rockefeller gaining those 2 spots.
I think one of the key things, Chris, as well, that we must remember, it's not just the actual pit stop where drivers are losing time. It's not the slowing down bit, then the actual stopping and then leaving the pit lane. You also actually counted probably about 4 seconds on your outlap as well, as your tyres are actually so cold that you cannot grip and you cannot get any pace whatsoever in that first lap. So you actually have to add that loss into your potential loss in the pit lane as well.
So we've had 5 now that have made pit stops. Matthias Ekstrom is the best of the pit stoppers so far. As you can see from the graphic, René Rast is 1.8 seconds clear. Last lap was a 1:37.4, 2 tenths quicker than Muller in second place, who in turn was 3 tenths quicker than Marco Wittmann in the BMW, which is dropping back now. Green is in 4th place, Auer is in 5th, and Green is on a good lap here. Look at him charging through the left-hander at turn 4, flat out 5th gear, into the right-hander at turn 5, 125 kilometres an hour, 3rd gear, up to 4th, already up to 190 kilometres an hour before you get to the next turn. And Green all the time is reeling in that BMW as they make their way through the chicane, Lee.
And just as we're watching this battle on screen, if you notice on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, with the green markers of those drivers who've pitted, the number there, that's the lap that they've actually pitted on. And that'll give you an idea as the race goes on how old the tyres they actually are. So we'll see, as you see, Rocky and Martin both pitted on lap 1 and the rest all pitted on lap 3. So obviously those other 3 guys have got 2 lap fresher tyres. So by the end of the race, obviously they'll be much, much older. As you see, it's a sluggish second last corner there from Wittmann, actually.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slide there, didn't he, coming out of turn 13 into the final turn at turn 14. Within DRS as well now. Jamie Green, if you're within a second of the car ahead, you can deploy DRS, and that is effectively giving you more horsepower, more top speed. He'll get a bit of a tow as well. Is he close enough to attack? Yes, he is, as they go into the braking zone. Jamie Green goes for it, down the inside, but he's deep into the corner. He runs wide. Marco Wittmann is going to try and get him back on the exit here. The BMW back ahead, but Green hasn't given up yet. He's looking to the inside, maybe, on the way to turn 2. You go on board with the British driver now. On the brakes, he turns left, but Marco Wittmann covers him off. That was a big, big go. Look how much closer Lucas Auer is to the tail of him now. Then you've got Thibaut Glock, and Paul de Resta is having a fabulous race, isn't he? He's rejuvenated here this weekend, and the former champion is 7th in the race already, as into the pits comes Bruno Spengler for another early stop.
And Robert Wickens is coming out of the pit stairs. He slots in just behind Maxime Martin. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good first couple of laps for Lucas Auer. He's not really pushed massively hard, but he's kept it tidy, and now he's just sitting and watching the Green Wittmann battle, and maybe going to take an advantage when either one of them or maybe both make a mistake. And we almost saw it there as Jamie Green completely overshot that first corner.
It was a brave effort, and he had to go for it because you're always you're carrying a lot more speed when you get a DRS. It's even harder to slow the car down. Big effort. It so nearly paid off, but Wittmann kind of saw him come in and thought, right, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to let you go deep into the corner. I'll get on the throttle quicker than you. I'll get you back coming out of the corner. Good exchange, good clean driving between the two of them. Gary Paffett on board with the 2005 champion. He's there in 9th place. He's inside the points. Augusto Farfus in the BMW is just ahead of him as they make their way out of the turn. And Lucas Auer, the championship leader, now comes into the pit. So he too is going to make a relatively early pit stop.
Okay, Lucas, push on your front tires.
So push on the front tyres.
It's all about the front tyres. Push on the front tyres. Get them warm. Fight for position on exit.
Get the fronts up to speed, up to temperature as quickly as you can. That's the message from the engineer to the Austrian. So there, we'll see where he joins in amongst those that have already made their pit stops, like Ekstrom, like Martin.
Go.
There they go. It wasn't a great pit stop. Maxime Martin, surely he's going to come out very, very close to him. Here's a replay.
Ooh, an hour's
slightly out of position. He came in, wasn't he?
That's cost him a couple of seconds on its own. The guy I think we need to watch at this stage is probably Matthias Ekstrom, who's made his pit stop. He's currently 31.8 seconds behind Rast. Now, you might think, well, that's a massive gap. But, of course, Rast still has to do his pit stop. And as we mentioned only a few moments ago, that includes slowing down, speeding up the actual pit stop, but also the lap, your actual outlap as well. And as it stands at the moment, I think it's borderline as to where if Rast pitted now, he might actually come out behind Ekstrom. I think he could slot in behind them.
That's been a bit of a disaster, that pit stop for Lucas Auer, because as you see from the graphic there, he is at the back of everybody that's pitted now. So he's behind Ekstrom, Martin, Wickens, Rocky, Duval, Mutara and Spengler, and he's actually quite a long way behind as well, just coming out of turn 5 and into turn 6 now is Spengler, only just coming out of the previous turn is Lucas Auer, so not only has he lost positions, he lost quite a bit of time there, so this weekend is just not working out for him as we now get Timo Glock making his way into the pits, and yesterday's race winner, Paul di Resta. Again, they come in nose to tail, and a race between the pit crews now to try and gain a position.
And actually, is looking for a clean stop for di Resta and Glock. It's unlikely they're going to be able to repeat their strategic masterstroke that we saw yesterday. Di Resta 7.6,
not bad. Not bad at all. What about BMW? I think they're going to miss out here, aren't they? Yeah, it's over 8 seconds. Change of place. Di Resta just in front of Glock. That's what a team can do for you.
I think the one thing we need to pay attention to as well is look at the lap times of the guys who are pitted at the moment. They're all in the early 37s or the mid 37s. The guys who have stayed out, your Rast, your Mullers, your Wittmans, your Greens, Farfus, they're all in the mid 38s, late 38s. Muller last time was actually even in the 39s.
So Di Resta and Glock have come out behind Maxime Martin. So Ekstrom is the leading pit stopper. Then it's Martin, then Di Resta, then Glock. We got Robert Wickens coming after them on warmer tyres, and he knows he's got to try and pounce here. The Canadian gets a good run coming down the hill out through turn 3 into turn 4 up to 5th gear, 185 kilometres an hour. A little lift there behind the BMW, hoping a gap opens up on the way into the inside. It does, but good on the brakes is Timo Glock. Just about fends off the Mercedes, and now his tyres should be more or less up to temperature if he can just fend him off through the chicane at turn 6 and 7.
Going back to Ekstrom, Eki has a nearly 20-second gap in front of him, so he is actually just biding his time. He's setting the fast laps, as in this instance, Wickens, who's pitted, he's got Glock in front of him. He can't go all out. He can't actually set his own time because his pace at the moment is dictated by Glock in front of him, and then you have a Blomqvist who's just pitted as well, and Paffett who's gone into pits, and Green as well.
And Blomqvist, yeah, just at the back of the picture there. Right, so Mercedes versus Audi versus BMW, isn't it? One from each of the marks come into the pits. There is Tom Blomqvist, who's had a desperately lucky season. He hasn't scored a single point in the races so far. The only points coming from qualifying. 2 points for Tom. Right, the Audi of Jamie Green. He's going to come out first. What about the BMW of Tom Blomqvist? Will he have to wait? I think possibly. Otherwise, it might be an unsafe release. Yeah, he had to wait. Gary Paffett gets out in front. Martin is going to get ahead of Jamie Green. Jamie Green is going to tuck in just in front of Di Resta. Runs deep into the corner. Di Resta gets him on the way out. Look at him fighting the wheel on these cold tyres, Jamie Green. And his work is not yet done because he's going to have another queue forming up behind him, led by Timo Glock into the left-hander at turn 2. But we saw yesterday up against Edo Mortara. Now, Jamie Green was very, very good on the cold tyres at keeping a quicker car behind him until they got up to temperature.
This is what I mean. That lack of grip going through those first few corners is such you could potentially lose between 2 to 4 seconds on your out lap alone. It's actually beginning to look quite good at the moment. Eki, who's the leading driver, who's actually pitted 6th place, he's 29.5 seconds behind leading driver Rast, and actually taking 1.3 seconds off of Rast at the moment. If it stays as it is, I think, again, this could see a strategy that will actually drop Rast, possibly down to 4th and 5th place, as we see Auer under investigation. I think that might have something to do with his pit lane entry.
Yeah. Yeah, the way he came into the pit box, moreover. And Marco Wittmann then, the 2014-2016 champion, into the pits. Hasn't won yet, but he only won 3 races all of last season. He still won the championship. He knows, as much as anybody else, it's all about consistency. It's going to be reported to the stewards of the meeting, Lucas Auer, but no further information about whether or not he's going to get penalised for that. So Matthias Ekstrom about to go over the line. He's easily going to be the leading pit stopper, but of course Matthias is going to have older tyres than a lot of them when he gets to the end of the race. There goes Eki into turn 1. Out comes Wittmann. He's going to be behind Maxime Martin. He's going to be just in front of Paul di Resta. So 3rd of the pit stoppers is the BMW. Can he fend off Paul di Resta, though, on the run down into turn 2? Paul gaining momentum down the hill, out of turn 1, under the bridge. On the way into the left-hander at turn 2, 100 kilometres an hour, 2nd gear. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Get on the throttle as quickly as you can now. Slipping and sliding a little bit here is Wittmann, but he's keeping the Mercedes behind him. But the Mercedes has got DRS now, don't forget. He's going to pick up a toe down here. It's very hard still to overtake at the top of the hill. He's doing everything he can here, Paul di Resta, but the gap hasn't yet opened up, and Marco Wittmann survives. The BMW stays ahead of the Mercedes.
I think it was critical just coming into turn 2 because as Wittmann held the middle line in the road, it forced di Resta out wide, and that actually destabilised Paul for the next couple of corners and pretty much solidified that position. And that's key. That's the thing about defending a position. It's not just, you don't just defend a position for one corner. By doing that, Paul has actually put Wittmann in a position or by doing that, Wittmann has put Paul in a position for 4 or 5 corners thereafter, which will keep the Scotsman behind. And by now, his tyres are up to temperature as we see Nico Muller go into the pits.
From second place. So René Rast leading the race, staying out for the time being. How is this? On the loft, one tyre on, second tyre on at the back, away he goes, looked okay. Ekstrom is going to be close. This is a decent stop for Muller. He's going to be behind Eki, but he should tuck into second of the pit stoppers, I reckon. It's going to be close though, isn't it? Here comes Martin. Martin trying to come around the outside. You've got to do it now, Maxime. You've got no choice. Around the outside. Does he do it? Yes! Maxime Martin by the skin of his teeth into second of the pit stoppers. Third best pit stopper then, Nico Muller. So this is working really well for Maxime Martin, isn't it, so far? And of course, he came in at the end of lap 1, as did Mike Rockenfeller. Rocky's a few positions further back. So Martin, who didn't get very far in yesterday's race, brought out a safety car, a bit of controversy around him, picked up a penalty. It was a bit of a nightmare day, really, for the ex-French Clio champion. He now is in a position to take a podium here. Nico Muller is having to defend very hard, though, from the BMW of Marco Wittmann, who gets halfway alongside the rear wing, then has to tuck him behind. This is a fantastic race. You've got De Resta and Green and Glock coming after them as well. There's about 2 lengths back. You've got Wickens in the mix as well. So Rast, Farfus and Engel are the top 3, and it's only the top 3 now, as you see from the graphic on the screen, that have yet to make their pit stop. So René Rast has come in. René Rast comes into the pits from the race lead. Right, how is this going to work out? In the background, Augusto Farfus in as well. So just Engels to stay out, Engel into the lead for the time being.
I'm imagining Eki's probably going to come out with a 3, 4, maybe 5 second advantage over Rast. But of course, Rast is going to be, he'll have that slow stop.
Farfus comes in just as he comes out. That was tight, wasn't it?
Obviously, Rast will lose a little bit of time as well on his outlap, but as the race goes on and Eki's tyres wear a little bit more.
Here we go for the lead of the race. Extra through. He's not yet leading. That is Maro Engel, but Maro's got to make his pit stop. So effectively, Eki into the lead. Second place for René Rast. I think he's got enough of a gap over Maxime Martin to be able to get the tyres up to temperature, but we've got a real fight on our hands now, Lee.
But just watch Eki. Eki will pull away a good bit over the next couple of corners, so it might edge out that gap I was talking about. But you know, we have 35 minutes of this race to go. Eki's been on those tyres now since lap 3. It's lap 12. Rast has just changed.
8 laps fresher, René Rast tyres, so we'll get to the end of the race.
It's going to be those last 10 minutes of this race, 10 to 15 minutes, where all of a sudden we'll just see it switch around again as Eki begins to struggle maybe a little bit for pace, and Rast will still have a little bit of pace in those tyres. This could still mesh quite nicely at the end for René.
So René Rast in effectively second place. Where will Maro Engel come into all of this as well? He was the last to pit yesterday. Is he going to come in soon, or is he going to go very long in the race like he did in yesterday's race? He went all the way to lap 31 yesterday before he came into the pits. Another thing to mention, another point to make is, we won't go into detail because we haven't got all day, frankly, is that they've changed the way the performance ballast, the success ballast works on the cars. It's not now based on your performance in qualifying, it is based on your average lap time in the race, and they take the best 2 from each brand and they take their best 28 laps at this circuit to work out the average, and then apply either 2.5 or 5 kilogram success ballast to the quickest brand, or take weight off the other brands depending on the gaps between them. So it's all now based on races, and that does make a difference. Rob Wickens was saying yesterday 15 kilograms, Mercedes coming into this heavy, 15 kilograms around here works out to about 0.3 of a second a lap, and so every 5 kilograms, about 1/10 of a second a lap.
So I'd say it's an interesting position now for Maro Engel. As I said yesterday, he stayed out long, he's staying out long here. His pace is decent. He spent a long time in this race so far, actually quite a distance behind René Rast, so maybe he hasn't lost as much, he hasn't forced his tyres as much as, say, other drivers on the circuit. So he was actually 9 seconds behind Rast when Rast stopped.
He's 18.5 clear. He needs more than 20, doesn't he? He needs 21, 22 seconds at least.
No, he'll need almost half a minute.
More like 30 seconds, you reckon?
Yeah,
to be in and out.
To take into account the time in the pit lane and then add on a little bit of time for what you'll lose on your outlap, it's in around 30 to 32
because
seconds.
Cold tyres, yeah.
So, okay, he's not going to drop into the lead battle for the lead, but it'll still be in
Should
the
be
points.
The points, shouldn't he? Yeah, absolutely. 7th, 8th, something like that, I would guess at the moment. Depends how much his tyres go off as well.
But the only interesting thing as well is now if you actually look in the pack, you've got guys there like Rocky, for example, pitted on lap 1. He had Mortara, Duval, a few others. Martin, all pitted on lap 1 or lap 3. So their tyres are almost just as old as Engel is at the moment. And their lap times are actually almost comparable. So Engel is actually still doing reasonable time to those guys who've already pitted.
Do you remember at the end of lap 1, we saw those 2 cars coming in absolutely nose to tail. Maxime Martin's BMW, centimetres clear of the Audi and Mike Rockenfeller. Well, now, after it's all fanned out, Martin is 4th and Rocky is 11th out of the points. So he lost time in the pit stops. He didn't lose that much. But, of course, don't forget, Mike started this race from last position for the pit lane. So if he can get into the points, it's going to be a real result. He's 3rd in the championship. He needs as many points as he can get.
What I think that did is those 3 seconds that Rocky lost in the pit lane, it actually created a gap between Martin and Rocky. So when other drivers started doing their pits, they actually slotted in between them. So as the race has gone on, Rocky's found more drivers have actually slotted in that gap that maybe he lost in the pits. What
It's exasperated the problem, hasn't it? Yeah.
Massively so for Rocky.
Simo Glock going well once more. Rob Wickens on his tail as they make their way through Sector 2. Mercedes 18.7 seconds clear of Maro Engel. 1 minute 38.4. He's still got comparable lap times. I mean, there are a few people going in the low 138s. You've got a couple in the high 137s, Muller and Wittmann being 2 of them. But, you know, his pace is pretty good considering he's on the oldest tyres out there. So Maro Engel doing a good job so far, the German driver. There is the front 3 of the pit stoppers, 2nd, 3rd, 4th as it stands, with Ekstrom holding the gap back to Rast. Let's have a look at the lap times when they come through. So it's 1:38.3 for Eng, who's just crossed the line in front of the commentary box. So again, that's a decent lap time from him on the older tyres. What about the gap between Ekstrom and Rast? It was 1.3 seconds. It looks very similar as they come out of turn 14. There's nothing between this lot, is there? Absolutely nose to tail here. Eki crosses the line. The gap's come down a little bit, actually, 1.1 seconds. So René Rast, 1.5 tenths quicker on that lap.
I think what we're seeing here is now the effect of Rast on 3-lap-old tyres against Eki's 13-old-lap tyres is probably beginning to come into play. Engel's doing a very, very good job, actually, with his 38.3s going around. And as you see in the mid-pack, they're all 38.0s, 38.1s. So he's doing a very, very, very good job. It's still probably going to drop him maybe to the very tail end of the points when he does eventually hit. But actually we'll probably really see some of those, as I say, those sort of guys who stopped on lap 1 and lap 3 begin to fall away a bit because it is much warmer than it was yesterday. The track temperature is up to almost 37 degrees.
Rast has gained another 10th back in that first sector. Remember, if he can get it from 1.1 seconds to 1 second, which looks likely, he's going to be within DRS. That's going to help him out. You use DRS for up to 12 of your laps and up to 3 times during each of those laps. You can activate it for. You see the LED display there showing the race position of the cars. This is 2nd versus 3rd, but effectively it's for the lead of the race, this, once Maro Engel, the GT World Cup champion, comes in, which he's going to have to do at some point in this race with just over now 30 minutes left in the race.
Now let's not make the mistake. Eki and Rast are both Mercedes drivers, but they're not going to make it easy for each other. They're gunning for well, Eki will see himself as always a championship contender, and he is always thereabouts, and Rast is going to want to make his name in the Mercedes squad as well. So yeah, they're not going to make it easy for each other. This is going to be a very tight battle to the end.
Yeah, and Norris Ring coming up next. A bit of a quandary this for Audi and for Matthias Ekstrom because it clashes with the next round of the World Rallycross Championship, in which he's 2nd at the moment. He's trying to defend his title, but precedence has been given to DTM. So Eki is going to do the DTM round at Norris Ring. He's going to have to sit out a round of World Rallycrossing, which is also blindingly quick. So Eki, 0.9 seconds clear, and now within DRS, within striking distance, is René Rast. You've got 2 fantastic drivers here about to go head-to-head. René Rast, with all of his success that we mentioned, and then you've got the most experienced driver in the field, 22 times a race winner, a double champion in 04 and 07. Matthias Ekstrom, 180-plus races in DTM. He's going to be a hard man to pass. So the 2 Audis going for the lead. Maxime Martin, can he get a podium here? Can he make the tyres last, having come in at the end of lap 1?
I think what's interesting, what could be interesting though, is with Rast and Eki, is they are, to a degree, battling amongst themselves for position. So they're actually, in a sense, they're slowing each other down because they're maybe having to take lines that are not optimum for the best lap time around here. So they're doing the 38.4s, 38.3s. Engel, still on much older tyres, is still doing 38.1s out front because he's not battling with anyone. He's got no one in his mirror, so he's not actually defending against anyone. He's got no one out front. So he's not trying to overtake or take aggressive lines. He's just banging in the laps like clockwork, one after the other.
And saving his DRS as well.
And exactly, saving all his DRS as well.
Actually, I mean, 138.4 he's just done, but he's just at a 138.1, which is quicker than he was going 4 or 5 laps ago. So as you say, doing a really good job. He's actually got the gap out to 19.2 seconds now to Matthias Ekstrom. Ekstrom 0.8 of a second clear of Rast. The cap's come down by another 1/10 of a second here. The two Audis. The Maxime Martin is 1.7 seconds back in 4th, 138.285. He is being caught, though, by Muller and Wittmann. So Engel's got to try and stretch a bigger gap, though, if he wants to stay in the points here.
I think as the race goes on, this will become a more difficult strategy. There's going to be a point where there's a point of no return, where you absolutely have to make a pit stop. The point where your actual tyres drop off to such a degree, you end up losing maybe a second.
That's what Jamie Green pitted when he did yesterday. He had to. The tyres were going off. So Engel's doing a good job at the moment, but he does need more of a gap if he's to have a chance of points. And then you have to think, well, I need to give myself enough time on fresh tyres to then be able to go on the attack against those with older tyres. He needs to give himself enough time to make use of the fresh tyres rather than leaving it really late. So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be fairly soon, I would say, that he has to come in and make that pit stop. But yeah, I would say Martin in 4th place at the moment, being reeled in a little bit by Muller and by Wittmann in 5th and 6th. Di Resta 0.8 of a second back. In fact, they're all nose to tail more or less, aren't they? 0.7 of a second between each of the next 5 drivers. Even down to Paffett in 12th place. He's on the back of this train as well. You're on board with him now. And he's never had great results here at Budapest, at the Hungaroring. It's the 3rd time that he's been here. He had a heavy car in 2014. Last time he came here, before that, in the Mercedes, it was a bad year for him anyway, but got his best results so far at the Hungaroring yesterday. He's enjoying driving this year's car. He's a genuine championship contender. And it's good to see Auguste Farfus going well also, still yet to score points in this year's championship. One of 2 drivers. There's only him and Loic Duval that haven't scored any points in 2017.
What's actually interesting, something you mentioned here a moment ago, we've got this long train of drivers, long train of cars, that are actually all holding each other up. And in a sense, this is kind of playing into Engel's game as well, because none of these drivers are doing optimum times. They're all doing, as I mentioned, mid-38s. So they're not actually possibly extracting the most out of the tyres, the most out of the cars that they possibly could in a regular situation had there maybe be stronger or longer gaps between each car. This is such a long line, it's actually holding the pace. This is possibly what Mercedes are kind of hoping for Engel. Okay, they're still not going to get a race victory with that kind of gap, but he'll still drop them for as long as the gap keeps growing. It's not
growing. They sort of staying the same. I mean, they're almost all on 138 3s, 4s, and 5s. The whole pack is lapping the same times at the moment. So no longer is he pulling away. So yeah, I was going to say he needs to come in really, doesn't he? Because if that gap is not growing, he might as well come in, bang on some new tyres, and then see if he can give himself enough time to make some moves up into the points. He's also got this pit stop penalty, which is going to slow him up as well. So he has to serve that 5-second penalty first for being out of position at the start of the race. Hops out of there, back into his box he goes, and he needs a good stop. So he's going to come out 15th or 16th? Yeah, 16th we think he's going to come out. But he'll have very fresh tyres on, and he looks like he's good pace as well. So even on old tyres, he's been able to hang on to them.
It's a slow stop. It's a slow stop.
That's just not what he needed, is it? He needed a 6 or 7 second stop.
So in essence, if you actually examine it, Engel, if you include the pit stop penalty as well, Engel's lost and had an additional 8.
Dead last.
Engel's actually had an additional 8 seconds, 8.5 seconds added onto that pit stop.
Yeah, dead last he comes out. Bruno Spengler just in front of him. Lucas Auer, the championship leader, is still running around last but 2 in 16th place. Everybody's still running in this race. It's a very low rate of attrition. The car's holding up really well here in the heat of the Hungaroring. There is Matthias Ekstrom then, who now genuinely picks up the race lead, as we knew he would. And we have a fight for the lead of the race here between him, René Rast, and about 10 others who are not that far behind either. It's all going to be about who's got the tyres at the end of the race. René Rast is all he needs to do now, Lee, is push, 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 and keep Ekstrom on his toes. Make Ekstrom push his tyres to the maximum in the hope that then they'll run out of legs in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the race.
And I would say Nico Muller needs to do the exact same to Maxime Martin over P3 and P4 as well, because Muller has 9-lap fresher tyres than Martin, who stopped on lap 1. Of course, Rast has 8-lap fresher tyres after Eke stopped on lap 3.
Tyres holding up well. Martin on that lap was actually 2/10 quicker than Muller, so he's doing a really good job actually of working it. But it's, you know, it's still 23 minutes plus a lap to go in this race. Still, you know, 40% of the race distance left to run. Over the line they then come, up to 240 kilometres an hour, 6th gear, 2.4 G under braking on the way to turn 2 as they drop down to just 75 kilometres an hour. And then on the exit through the Kinker, on the exit to turn 1, down the hill, down towards the 2nd gear corner at turn 2 they go. First 3 run through your shot. There is Nico Muller running well in 4th place. Just about picked up a point yesterday after the exclusion during the evening of Jamie Green, which is being appealed, we should say. That is something that's being looked at and may rumble on for a few days and weeks yet. But Nico Muller doing a solid job. He'll be looking forward to go back to the Norris Ring, where he took his sole to-date race victory in DTM. That's the next round of the championship. Right, pit lane dramas. These are made quite a few changes in position. So there is the number 7 of Spengler, struggling there. The 22 car of Auer, that's being investigated. He came in a bit too hot, didn't he? And almost then causing a bit of strife to his team and putting everything out of position, which cost them a few seconds. And then waiting for the front left on Jamie Green's car, which was a bit reluctant to come off.
I must admit, there actually has been quite a number of sluggish pit stops today. It's been several seconds. A lot of drivers will have several seconds compared to what we've seen at Hockenheim and Lausitzring in yesterday's race as well. So
best we had yesterday was 6.7 from Phoenix for Rockenfeller. But most of them have been, even the good ones have been over 7 seconds, and we saw quite a few under 7, as you said, at the Lausitzring. But a lot of them are 8, 9, 10 seconds, haven't they?
Yeah. So Rast, 8/10 now is the gap as he chases down Mate Ekstrom for the race victory. We're 20 laps into race 2 at the Hungaroring. It's still a little bit of a stalemate.
Yeah, we reckon Rast is holding on to his DRSs. He's close enough to use it, but we didn't see the wing going up there, so he's hanging on. He's biding his time, ready to attack when Matthias Ekstrom is at his weakest point at the end of the race, and he knows that the guy behind him as well is going to struggle at the end of the race, Maxime Martin. So he's really his biggest threat from behind is probably, as you say, Nico Muller, but he's got a 4-second gap over him. So René Rast is in a nice position here to be able to make up his own mind when he goes on the attack. He's not being forced into anything just yet.
At the same time, it's also a slightly odd strategy because we saw a moment ago, I think Rast has 12 DRS laps left, as it were. Well, we're only 20 minutes left in this race, which is going to take us to maybe 20 minutes plus 1, so maybe 9 laps, 8.
Yep.
Well, actually, no. It'd be nearly off 12 laps or something like that.
Yeah, he's going to start using them now, isn't he? Yeah, with plus 1 lap at the end as well. So probably, yeah, maybe 12, 13 laps to go.
So I think he needs to start thinking about where he can apply it now. If not to overtake Eki, but to at least put him into a position where he can actually put Eki under pressure.
Yeah, right, and Eki's got DRSs left as well. So another school of thought is if Rast goes too soon, of course the guy behind, which would be Ekstrom, then we get to use his DRS. So this might just be a clever bit of planning here. Amazing, isn't it? These racing drivers, they think on their feet. I mean, not just are they hanging on to these race cars at ridiculous speeds, they're trying to outthink, outsmart their opponents all the time. They're highly intelligent creatures, these racing drivers, no matter what anybody tells you. Brains going all the time. Absolutely fascinating to watch this. Creeping up, 0.8 of a second behind now. Maxime Martin 3 odd seconds down the road in 3rd. Muller is 4th, Pittman is 5th. De Resta in 6th place, having a super weekend. Green in 7th, frustrating weekend this for him. Given that Lucas Auer, his strongest championship rival, or one of them, is having a really bad weekend, this perhaps a missed opportunity to capitalise upon that. Glock in 8th place, Wickens in 9th position. Rocky's in the points now in 10th place.
And it's going to be interesting enough as Martin is slowly but surely, I think he's beginning to drop off the pace ever so slightly as we see Eki drop a wheel rim on the dirt there a moment ago. So if Muller is, he's only 0.9 of a second behind Martin, but if Martin is beginning to lose a few tenths of a second per lap, Muller's going to be looking to take advantage of that very, very, very shortly.
So, Matthias Ekstrom, a driver that's been on the podium 72 times, has won 22 races versus René Rast, that's in DTM. René Rast has had no wins and one podium so far, but that doesn't really tell you the story of just how evenly matched these two drivers are. It's looking good for Audi. Looks like one of them's going to win. They would have liked to win yesterday. They probably should have won yesterday, but it just didn't work out for them. Eki goes across the line. The gap comes down to its lowest point yet, 0.7 of a second. René Rast, is he starting to wind up the attack now with 18 minutes to go? There is Maxime Martin doing a terrific job to hang on to them. The former GT racer there, or a Blancpain racer. Nico Muller then. You've got this battle going on here between Paul de Resta and Jamie Green, the two British drivers running in 6th and 7th positions. Jamie Green with an eye on the long game as well, the championship. Paul de Resta was shot at the championship table after yesterday's win, but he's still a long way down the overall order. We cut then to the onboard of Robert Wickens, who's just behind the pair of them and trying to chase down Timo Glock. So you've got 6th and 7th, bit of a gap. Then this battle for 8th and 9th positions with Mike Rockenfeller there, look, in 10th position, but with older tyres than everybody in front of him, except for Maxime Martin. But Maxime are a long way out of reach at this stage. So here they all come through your shot. You've got Gary Paffett just outside the points as well, running in 11th place. Remember, Gary 4th in the championship. And every point counts. Lee made the point in qualifying that last year's championship. After all the races that we had, after months of racing, it boiled down to just 4 points. So you get the odd point here or there. It might just come into play at the end of the season.
As I said, it does put an extra focus on qualifying now that you do get the points for first, second and third in that session. I said some drivers have already picked up 6-7 points in qualifying alone, so it's nothing to be sniffed at anymore. You really need to think about both qualifying setup and race setup. But right now we're seeing it's Eki still heading Rast. Coming across the line, the gap is 0.9 of a second. Rast is not making massive inroads at the moment, it must be said. I think he's just
still got 12 DRS left as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's losing a couple of tenths in the middle sector and then gaining them back in the final sector. They're both kind of even as they go into the opening fast sector of the lap. So it is kind of status quo at the moment. And I wonder, is this Rast's pace, or is he quite simply biding his time?
Well, Ekstrom's doing a terrific job, isn't he, with all the laps that he's had on the car. Now, Lucas Auer has just come into the pits. There he is on your screen.
That's it,
and this is parking up, I think, isn't it? This is not a scheduled pit stop, as you can well imagine. And the car, which has just not looked on the pace, has it, all the way through, is coming into the garage. And it has been a miserable weekend, I'm afraid, for the Austrian driver, who had won 2 out of the 4 races coming into this weekend. He had not been out of the points, and he hasn't picked up a single point, not even a point in qualifying from this weekend. So Lucas Auer, with a terrible weekend, he's leading the championship at the moment, but the gap is coming down all the time. The only slight bright note for him is that Jamie Green, his closest rival, is only in 7th place currently.
I think the only other bright light for Auer this weekend is over.
Yeah, exactly. Get on the plane home and try and forget about it. One of those weekends, I'm afraid. What it is going to do is going to bunch everybody up, isn't it, with the way it's worked out this weekend. So drivers that were 5th, 6th, 7th in the championship, the likes of René Rast, are going to be right up there. And we're going to go to the middle of the season with everybody bunched up together in the points table. Some terrific slow-mo shots here of these fabulous 500-plus brake horsepower V8 beasts roaring around. Mercedes won the first visit of the DTM here back in 1988 with Johnny Cecotto, took pole position, took wins in both of the races. Back then in 1988, the fastest lap was a 1:57. And this year, we're in the 1:36s to show you how much these cars have developed during that 3-decade period. Here we go then. Is that gap down a little bit on this lap? Looks like it might be. Yes, down a 10th through the first sector. So 0.8 of a second as they cross the line. It's back to 0.7 of a second now. Ekstrom, though, doing a terrific job at the head of the field.
Curious, though. Eki's now dropping into the 39s. So he's actually beginning to lose a little bit of pace. Now that his tyres are 21 laps old, I do wonder if they're beginning to maybe feel a little bit of pain late on in the race as Lucas gets out of his car.
That's what René Rast is hoping for, isn't it? Yet, Maxime Martin, who's got older tyres than Matthias Ekstrom in third place, has just done a 1:38.7, was actually quicker than René Rast. So hats off to the BMW driver as well.
I think Rast is actually pinned at this time by Ecky's pace. I would say once Rast actually overtakes Ekstrom, if he does, I think he'll go off into the distance with much fresher tyres. But yeah, it's curious that we're getting to that stage now where I think the tyres may start to begin to ebb away.
Well, let's see what the lap times are like this time when they come through. They're at the thunder past the window of the commentary box. Extra 1:39.050. You're right, he's just creeping into the very low 1:39s. 1:38.9, down to 0.7 of a second. The gap for Rast. And 1:38.7 for Martin, who's quicker than both of them. 1:38.6 for Nico Müller, who has not yet given up on the idea of taking home some silverware.
What I'd add to that probably is there is a near 2-second gap between Martin and Rast at the moment. Okay, he's still got a little bit of dirty air, but he doesn't have a car directly in front of him. So Martin is still able to play with the track a little bit more, play with the road. So he's actually got a little bit more freedom. And he'll probably find that once he does get, say, within a second of Rast, he'll probably drop back into Rast's pace as well, unless he actually overtakes him immediately. And as we see, they still have, like, Ecky has 10 DRS left, Rast and Martin both have 12, Müller has 9 left.
We've got plenty, haven't they?
I think this is good. This could well be a race that actually...
Except for DRS, yeah. It's got one left.
And this could be a race that really comes down to the last 10 minutes or so.
Absolutely. We're not far off, are we? 12 minutes, 20 seconds left on the clock. There'll be another lap added on at the end of the lap when the time runs out. It might just prove to be a lap too long for some. Yet, you saw yesterday on really shot rubber, Bruno Spengler managing to hang on to that final place on the podium, fending off Mike Rockenfeller. The one thing that's on the side of those with more worn tyres is that he's not the easiest circuit to overtake on here.
It all comes down to the exit out of final
I'm afraid
corner.
Lucas Sauer has had a nightmare weekend. He's caught up with Verena down in pits.
Yes, it is a bit loud here, but I'm here with Lucas Sauer, and it's been a terrible weekend for you, Lucas. You had a very unlucky pit stop, I think 20 seconds, and now the race ended for you. So how are you feeling at the moment? And
hab nichts verstanden.
I was just saying you're having a bit of a nightmare weekend, basically, and you had a terrible pit stop with, I think, 20 seconds. A lot of things are going wrong. What is the matter?
Sometimes, you know, it's running good, sometimes bad. I overshooted the pit stop already, and I think then one mechanic got stuck with the wheel gun. But, you know, sometimes you have these days.
Now I heard that you also have a lot of Austrian fans actually coming all the way to Budapest to support you, and it's not going that well. And if Ecky wins, you're going to lose the leadership of the championship. So how does that make you feel? Or is it just a weekend to tick off and to think ahead?
I think it's just a weekend to take off, to learn. First analyze, learn, and then we have 6 more to go. So plenty to come.
All right, thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. What a positive way to look back on what's been a tough weekend to Lucas out. While that was going on, you saw replays of a fab move from Jamie Green on Paul di Resta into turn 1. He tried to move like that earlier in the race, which almost worked. That was with Marco Wittmann. This time, it did work. So that will put Jamie Green now into the top 6.
There's a little bit of it's a plastic bag, a couple of plastic bags in the radiator
Wittmann's car,
for Wittmann's car. Now they've got to be quite careful of that because that is going to stop some of the air coming through to the restrictor.
And he's got Jamie Green hunting him down. Jamie Green has left Paul di Resta in his wake. Look at the gap that he's managed to pull on him already to go across the line. He's 1.1 seconds clear, and he just overtook him. And now Maxime Martin starting to come under pressure here for the final place on the podium from Nico Müller. Nico winding it up. He's had a couple of good laps. He's within DRS striking distance as they come into turn 2. They're pushing each other on, and they're not far behind the leaders either. We are going to have a grandstand finish to this race.
What did I say, Dave? Last 10 minutes of the race, we're down to 9 minutes 40. I think it's just kicked off now.
Well, it's half a second from first to second as well. So we got 2 separate duels here. One for the lead, one for third. Nico Müller, could he get third? Could he get second? Could he even win this race? It's all possible here in the DTM at the Nürburgring. One thing's for sure, we're going to have a 4th different winner of the season, aren't we? Because Ekstrom, Rast, Martin, Müller, Wittmann, the top 5, none of them have won a race so far in 2017. The highest placed winner so far, Jamie Green, is in 6th place.
And if Green does somehow win this race, it'll mean it would have been a truly unusual last 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Wouldn't rule it out, though. This is DTM. Anything is possible. So, still 139.1 for Ekstrom. So his pace has dropped, but it's been very, very gradual, hasn't it? But absolutely metronomic has been René Rast. 138.9, 138.9, 138.9. Like a robot, and he's creeping after the race leader.
And as we mentioned a few moments ago as well, DRS, Muller had 9 left, but he's actually used 2 so far, trying to get past Maxime Martin, as we see René Rast again chase Eki through the final corner. Muller looks a little bit close. It's only 0.4 of a second. I don't think he's actually close enough to make a move on Maxime Martin.
Jamie Green is getting closer and closer to the tail of Marco Wittmann. Here they come over the start-finish line. He weaves to the inside. He goes to the outside because the inside line is covered. This is déjà vu. This is a repeat of the battle that we had earlier on in the race. This time Jamie can't get through into the corner. He's got much more traction coming out of the corner. He draws alongside. This could be a fantastic move from Jamie Green all the way around the outside of turn 2. Does he hang on? He's on the curbs. He closes the door. Brilliant move from Jamie Green. And he gets another position. That puts him up to 5th. He fancies a podium here. And all these points adding up to close the gap to Lucas Auer, who's going to score 0 for this race. Jamie Green wants badly to win this championship. And where would he be without these exclusions that he'd had from the qualifying at Lausitzring, the exclusion that he had from 7th place yesterday? He is fighting against this, desperate to win his first title. And he's doing a fantastic job in this race.
I do wonder, possibly, I know it's only a couple of plastic bags in the radiator of Wittmann's car, but I wonder if that is actually having some sort of effect on the engine in his BMW machine. He dropped almost a second in the first sector there. A lot of that would be trying to defend from Jamie Green, but he's just seemed to be struggling somewhat through the bottom end of the last lap as well, as we see Jamie Green absolutely wing it around the outside of Wittmann.
That was utter commitment from Jamie Green, wasn't it?
Fair play to Marco Wittmann as well. He kept his inside line, didn't do anything stupid, didn't play any rough stuff. He actually played it hard and fair, and Green took the position.
Somebody forgot to tell Jamie Green you can't pass around the outside at turn 2. Can't you? I can. So what can he do now? He's got a big gap to try and make up on Nico Muller. That's pit radio from Marco Wittmann to the team. Didn't quite catch it, but I imagine he's struggling with that car. As you say, he's got Di Resta coming after him as well now, hasn't he? He's only 0.7 of a second behind, but Di Resta low on DRS. He's possibly out of them as well. Whoa! Sliding out of the corner there is the red and white BMW of Augusto Farfus as he tries to get back ahead of Mortara. Those two have switched around, so Mortara got him, and that was Farfus trying to get the place back. They are down in 12th and 13th positions currently. The gap from first to second is still exactly half a second on that lap. Again, almost a 10th quicker, though, was René Rast. Back into the 138s, though, for Ekstrom. Look at that, 138.4. He's been saving the tyres. He's suddenly, when he needs it, found a bit of speed here, Eki.
He absolutely has. Now we're looking at the battle for 3rd and 4th place as well. Muller is burning through his DRS at the moment. He's only got five lap options left, and Martin still hasn't even used a single one. So I think when it does come down to it, even though Muller has newer tyres, Martin may just have enough to actually hold Muller off as it comes down to the closing laps. There's only 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap to go.
I wonder if there's a theory that you use DRS, you go into the corner faster, and you have to then brake harder, and you take more life out of your tyres. I wonder if that is perhaps coming into the mind of some of the drivers. Yeah, I'll gain a bit of straight line speed, but I'm going to kill my tyres if I keep doing that. I'll use it if I'm close enough to attack, but not otherwise. 5 minutes, 14 seconds left on the clock. The gap is coming down. 0.3 of a second. René Rast is winding it up, looking for his first victory in the DTM. The gap opens up. René is going for it. He's down the inside. He's going to slow the car up and make a clean exit. Can he? Yes, he can. René Rast leads the race here with less than 5 minutes to go. Down to second place, Matthias Ekstrom. He has bided his time absolutely perfectly. Has Eki got anything left to fight back with now in the closing laps? And what about the battle for 3rd between Martin and Muller, who are being reeled in by half a second a lap by Jamie Green? Watch for Jamie in the last lap or 2 of this race.
Absolute textbook there from René Rast. Got a very good exit out of the final corner, as we see it here. DRS opens and he just draws bit by bit up to the rear as Eki pulls into the middle of the road and makes it absolutely clear his intention. He's coming through, goes a little bit deep into turn one, brings it back as they come out into the exit, but he has that lead with absolute certainty as they come out the exit of turn one and go into turn two. Absolutely wonderful move, and Rast on for his first win at the moment with 4 minutes left.
That was clinical, wasn't it? So easy to outbrake yourself there. You're carrying more speed with the DRS. You're desperate to get at the inside of the driver ahead, and he just did it to perfection. So René Rast at the head of the pack. Will he now pull away? Can he fight back? I'm beginning to doubt he can on these older tyres. Maxime Martin's been the star of the show, hasn't he? He wasn't exactly the star in yesterday's race, but on these really old tyres, which he pitted at the end of lap number 1, so he's basically done the whole race on these tyres. He is there in 3rd place, and he's fending off everybody else on fresher tyres and putting in very quick lap times.
Rast immediately back into the 37s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now I'm going to go. Off I go, bye-bye, I want my first race feature. I'm sorry, Eki, but you've had 22 wins. You don't need another one just yet. It's my turn. It's my time. And René Rast has fired himself into the championship hunt here as we see Rockefeller and Paffett going side by side, banging shoulders. Out wide goes Gary Paffett. He ain't going to like that. He pushed me off, says Gary. Not happy. And now comes back down the inside. Oh, Mike Rockefeller, two former champions. And through comes Gary Paffett. So does he have the presence of mind to be able to talk on the radio while he's in the middle of an overtaking move? That's why he's a superhuman racing driver. So Gary Paffett then into the points. That was an important move. So that's for 10th place. Gary through, despite being shouldered off. That's been looked at by the officials. But Gary made it through. Let's have a replay over this. Around the outside, inching clear. It was all right here. It was on the way out of the corner.
Yeah.
Rocky just drifted out. You're on the outside. You're exposed.
I think it's the hit there that's what they're going to be investigating. And whether he needed to drift out in such a way, in such a wide manner.
I think all that served to do was fire up Gary even more, wasn't it? Just all right, OK, I'm coming now, whether you like it or not, down into turn 2. I want my point, thank you. And he's got it for the time being. This then, the battle for the final place on the podium. Maxime Martin, can he stop an Audi washout here? Both the races last year were won by Audis, Matthias Ekstrom and Eduardo Matara. They took the top 6 places in race 1 here. They took the top 5 places in qualifying, but it didn't work out for them in the race. The BMW at the moment is on for a podium. It'll be 3 podium finishes for BMWs this weekend if he can hang on to it. If he can't, there are 2 Audis waiting to patch. What about Green? Is he close enough? No, his pace has just gone off a bit now, Jamie Green, so I think 5th might be as good as it gets, unless something dramatic happens ahead of him. And if they do start to battle on the last couple of laps of the race, he might just close the gap, but it's looking like Muller and Martin.
And the thing is, with Martin in 3rd place, he's now within a second of Eki, so he has use of DRS as well.
And so does Eki, and Eki's just done a 138.895, so he's, again, found a bit more pace when he needs to. Warning flag for Mike Rockefeller, but no penalty for forcing another driver wide. Eki should be down and out. He is refusing to go on the canvas. He is trying to fight back here. Partially, he wants to win back. Partially, he's being spurred on by the battle behind. That's Loic Duval, who's just had a moment there, getting back up to speed. That's on the exit to turn 2. Green flag. The yellows were out briefly because this is what happens. Blomqvist crashed into me, says Duval on the radio. That was almost what happened to Tom at the start of the race. Same position. Tom was the one spun around. Tom will argue that the line was there and you closed the gap. Loic will argue that I had my nose in front, and so race control will investigate it and make their own mind up. Now, he wants to make sure he stays ahead of Martin and Muller and stay in 2nd place, and that is keeping Ekstrom on the pace of René Rast. There's 15 seconds left to go, so they're going to complete this one. The clock will run out, and then they'll have one more lap, of course, at the end of it. René Rast, is he just winning this by the smallest possible margin? Because he said he did a 137 when he got into the lead. He's back into the low 139s now. Is he managing the race? Is he winning by the lowest possible margin? Or has he got a bit of an issue? Are his tyres going off now? Let's listen. No, I think we already got the back end of that. That was René Rast about to go on the radio. But you do wonder, why does he go from a 137 then back into the 139s? And Eki is within DRS striking distance, 0.7 behind. Martin is 0.7 of a second behind Ekstrom, within DRS striking distance. Likewise, Muller, although Muller has had a lot of laps now to try and attack Maxime Martin. and hasn't had any chance. He's saving one, we reckon. That's going to be for the last lap. Green's got one, but he's not close enough. So Muller is going to have to wait for the last lap to go on the attack here for a podium with his DRS.
Muller's just not looked confident enough coming out of the final corner to actually get close to Martin to actually utilise the DRS. And every time Muller has actually put the DRS on, he's dropped in around half a second back, and it's just too much of a gap. He needs to be 0.3 of a second, maybe, to actually make the DRS really work. Rast has pulled out a smaller gap now. It does look like Eki is actually putting the squeeze to a degree on Martin to maybe give Muller a hand.
But look at this, 55 minutes of racing, and they're as close as they were at the end of lap number 1.
This could actually work out quite badly for Eki because he actually lost a little bit of time in that sector. Last opportunity now, I think he's actually probably too far back. Everyone there is getting DRS. So it is a status quo, as it were.
Muller's last lap they go.
Muller's closer.
It's not close enough, though, is he? Not close enough. René Rast is just keeping them at bay. But he ain't pulling away like we thought he might. Ekstrom in second place with a terrific drive. Maxime Martin with possibly an even better drive, given where he started the race, right at the back, given the fact he's on the oldest tyres out there, with the exception of Mike Rockenfeller. And then you've got Nico Muller hunting them down. Remember, DRS you can use up to 3 times a lap. Last lap, they say to René Rast. One more lap to hang on to this. It's not like René's never won a race before. He's won loads, but he's never won one in the DTM. This is only his first full season. Did the back end of last season at Hockenheim. But this is looking like it's going to come here at the Hungaroring. It'll be a very special weekend for him. First pole, first win, but he's still got a bit of work to do here. Nico Muller is reeling in now. Maxime Martin, there he is in the number 51 Audi. Very, very close to the tail of Martin. Yellow at turn 12. It's being set. Oh, Marco Wittmann's dropped back. That's why Marco Wittmann's dropped down the timing screen. So Marco, problem developing, we suspected. His car has stopped out, so no points for the reigning champion, I'm afraid, as they come into the final sector. The yellow flags there at turn 12. There's only 2 more corners to go. No action between the incident between Duval and Blomqvist, it says on the screen. René Rast out of turn 13. Second, Ekstrom. Third, Martin. Fourth, Muller. They're within a stone throw of each other. 1 more corner to go. The checkered flag, you can see René Rast. And now, for the first time in DTM, you take it, you win. He screams over the radio, René Rast is a DTM winner. He has dreamed of being a DTM driver since he was a child. He was absolutely elated with the podium at the Lausitzring. Wunderbar, they say. Wonderful, René Rast. That was precision tactics, precision driving. René's singing on the radio now. I think he's chuffed. He was delighted with the podium. He is super, super delighted with the win. There is Marco Wittmann's car, which we said stopped right at the end of the race with a lap and a bit to go, hence the yellows at turn 12. The René Rast, you can just about see his eyes, but you can see the smile in them, the glint in them. He is a DTM race winner. And I tell you what, he's a championship contender if he keeps this up. René Rast wins. Matthias Ekstrom, fab drive, as is ever the case with the Swede for second. Maxime Martin, super drive for third place on the podium from the back of the field. Fourth place, Nico Muller. Couldn't quite do it on that last couple of laps. Jamie Green with some great moves to come through to fifth. Paul de Resta, terrific weekend for him as well, with a win and a second. Win and a sixth, rather. Seventh place goes to Timo Glock. He's had a really good weekend as well. Robert Wickens in 8th place. Gary Paffett came up to 9th place in the end with Wittmann dropping out. And so back into the top 10 and into the points came Rockenfeller. Mortara 11th, Farfus 12th. Still no points for Augusto. Blomqvist 13th, Spengler 14th, then Eng Duval. So Audi win, Rast wins. Dieter Gassi speaking to Verena.
Yes, sunny skies here for Audi, finally. I mean, congratulations, double victories. We've got to be absolutely happy.
Yes, sure. I mean, it was a very difficult weekend, a very tough weekend for us. But we have been fighting back today. Next to ideal race, really, for us. 1-2 and 4-5 as well. Very good race, so I'm happy, yeah.
And it was also a very interesting battle between Rast and Eki in the last 5 minutes. Were you getting a little nervous there?
Really, with Matthias, not so much. You know what he does. He has a brain. He uses it. So when he is involved, I'm not too concerned.
So congratulations and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Well done to Audi. Well done to Dieter Gas. There is how the team celebrated their 1-2 finish with René Rast and Matthias Ekström after what was a breathtaking, fantastic race. There was barely a moment where there wasn't something going on in that. There's confirmation of the results. Rast, Ekström, Martin in the top 3. Muller 4th, Green 5th, De Resta 6th, Glock in 7th, Wickens, Paffett and Rockenfeller all in the points as well. Just 2 seconds covering the top 4 at the flag. Edo Mortara out of the points this time. Augusto Farfus 12th. Tom Blomqvist, his difficult season continues in 13th. Bruno Spengler 14th likewise. Then Eng, then Duval, and non-finish for Whitman, and a DNF for the driver that led the championship coming into the weekend, Lucas Auer. And he's going to be, I think, just about still in the championship, but not by very much now, top of my head. Park up the car. Replace the steering wheel, get out and wait for the noise, everybody. René Rast, DTM race winner. He's about to get out of the car to be greeted by the team. And there are the points on screen. René Rast has actually moved by a point into the championship lead from Lucas Auer with Jamie Green in 3rd place. I said he was a championship contender. He's very much a championship contender. He's leading the thing. What a weekend for René Rast. He's marked his arrival. It didn't take long, did it, for him to get used to the DTM? And these cars are not easy to drive, Leo Gorman. We've seen many drivers with huge success in the past coming to this championship and struggle and fail from Formula One, from other forms of racing. René Rast shows what a top driver he is. He's got a wheel, he's got brakes, he's got tyres, he can win in it.
Absolutely, and I think wonderful drive, and it just worked out very well. We saw Eki was in the lead for an awful lot of that race. Rast stayed out until just around the midway point, put in some good laps, and he, when he did actually do his pit stop, he came out with 2 seconds behind Eki, and he just had fresher enough tyres to catch up, sit there, and then make the move when he had to. That was a class performance.
Enjoy this, René. This is a moment to remember for the rest of your life. How many more will there be? Quite a few, I reckon. Still only, was he 30 years old, René Rast? There's a lot of racing left to be done for the very likeable German driver. He's a true sportsman as well. I mean, he missed out on the narrowest of margins on a Nürburgring 24-hour win a few weeks ago. And the first thing he did was went up to congratulate Kelvin van der Linde, who took the win, who's come up through the Audi driver program as well, and big smile on his face, and just enjoying his moments, even though he'd lost out himself. There, Matthias Ekström, showing that even on old tyres, as did Maxime Martin, if you're a good driver, you can keep yourself up there. Fantastic effort for these 2 drivers to get onto the podium.
I'll tell you one thing as well, something you don't necessarily see in other forms of motorsport. Those drivers have worked very hard today. It's hot, isn't it? 27 degrees. Some super slow-mos then of our top 3 drivers. Maxime Martin with his first podium finish of the year, taking the points for BMW. That's Maxime's 7th career podium in the DTM. Second place goes to Matthias Ekström. Led for a long, long time in that race, pitted early. 73rd podium in the DTM for the most experienced driver out there, the double champion. The first thing he does, gives a big hug to René Rast. Great sportsmanship between those 2 fabulous drivers. That's the man, though, that adds his name now to the list of DTM winners. And it's a long, long list. There's now just 2 drivers in this field that haven't won a DTM race. René Rast with his maiden victory here in the 3rd weekend of the season, the 6th round of the 2017 DTM Championship. And Audi, all down and out yesterday, but it's all smiles today. That is just the tonic they needed. A 1-2 finish. Good results as well for Muller in 4th and Green in 5th place. And they have now got their man at the top of the championship standings. They're 1st and 3rd in the driver standings as well. And that, I think, will be enough to propel them back ahead of Mercedes in the manufacturer's standings, because overnight they lost out to Mercedes by a few points once the results were reshuffled with Jamie Green's exclusion. That's still going on to be appealed, but for now, let's concentrate on the happy scenes down there as René Rast gets out of the car to be welcomed by everybody that helped him on his journey so far to get into the DTM. René Rast, you can expect a huge grin when he makes his way onto the top step of that podium.
you could expect a huge roar. Not just from Audi and from the teams, Lee, but from this crowd who are really appreciative of some great racing here and have been very noisy, very colourful in their support of the DTM. There's going to be a big roar from them as well, because that was a great race to watch, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It wasn't necessarily a thrilling minute with loads of overtaking, but what we got was lots of very tense action as we saw drivers absolutely keep their foot in it throughout that race. Wonderful. I mean, you know, we were seeing, look at the gaps throughout the field. It's only half a second as they were actually just chasing and pushing each other right through the checkered flag. So some very, very, very good racing this weekend. And you know, congratulations to René Rast for mastering it, really.
And there's some really good moves as well, weren't there, from Jamie Green's move, outstanding around the outside at turn 2. So René Rast shoots from, I think it was 7th at the start of the weekend, into the championship lead on 70 points. A point clear of poor old Lucas Auer, who almost might as well not have turned up this weekend for all he's taken away from it. Jamie Green, he's still smiling though, bless him, Lucas, and he'll bounce back, I'm sure. And Jamie Green then 3rd. Matthias Ekstrom up to 4th place, as you saw there in the championship standings as well. What a fantastic drive. Almost a race victory for Matthias Ekstrom. He's speaking to Verena.
Eki, that was a fantastic race, but in the last 5 minutes, René Rast overtook you and gained victory, so it's a 2nd place for you. But a good race, and are you pretty happy?
Yeah, I mean, I had a bad start, so I lost probably my best chance to win the race there. So bogged a bit, like too much, and then couldn't catch the guys in front, plus that Nico passed me. So then pitting early and going full attack all the time, but the tires were pretty hot at some stage, and when I saw I came out in front of René, I know the game. I mean, I've been done it long enough and did not have enough pace to really pull away. And then he just waited until my tires started dropping. And when he came with the attack, I knew, I mean, for sure I could battle. But I saw there were a couple of guys behind that was catching even more. So I thought if I'm probably a bit fair to him, maybe I can try and hang on and not lose too much time. Because at the end, I had not so much tires left.
But you did a fantastic job. I guess it can continue like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I'm most happy with qualifying performance this weekend. 2 times 3rd is a great step forward for us. And 1 podium and, yeah, a 5th. So it's quite okay. I can't complain.
Exactly. So off you go onto the podium. Thank you very much, Eki, and back to you.
He's always smiling, isn't he, Matthias Ekstrom? Fab guy. 38 years of age, Leo Gorman. 2001 he made his debut in this championship. 17 seasons ago, and he's still as quick as he ever was.
And you know, still a very driver of high quality. I think what we'll see this weekend, after this weekend, in the review, is some great drives by the likes of Rast and the likes of Eki. Green thereabouts, our awful weekend. But I think a lot of the teams are going to start reviewing the pit stops as well.
Yeah, they learnt a lot, I think, haven't they, from the weekend. There are your top 3 drivers then. I said it's going to be noisy. It is super noisy. René Rast on the top step of the podium. Matthias Ekstrom 2nd, Maxime Martin 3rd. A win for Audi, and now our national anthem. The German national anthem, a proud moment for René Rast. On the top step of the podium, certainly not for the first time, but for the first time in this championship. Zolkley from the circuit presents the winner's trophy. Maiden victory to René Rast. That one's going straight to the top of the mantelpiece when he gets home. And of course, Audi, our winning manufacturer, Team Rosberg, our winning team, getting their trophy as well. And a great moment for the team, who worked so hard. All the teams worked so hard during the course of the weekend and in the weeks and months leading up to it. As we see now, our 2nd place trophy going to Matthias Ekstrom. Very much in this year's championship fight as well. I think it's going to be the closest season we've ever had at this rate. It's been a brilliant first few rounds of the championship. 3 events, 6 races. Edith Miklos, the World Cup skier, presents the well-deserved 3rd place trophy to Maxime Martin. He's gone from the lows of motorsport yesterday to the very highs. That was a really strong drive. That's put right a lot of, I think, what happened yesterday for him. So some huge trophies to try and get back on the flight or the train or the car on the way home. They'll now pose for a few photos. And now we'll see who's the quickest with the champagne in a few moments' time. And the René Rast can win that race as well. Yeah, I think so. We'll call it a draw.
Gave it a go, at least.
Heck, he's gone, hasn't he? Where's he off to? He's drinking his, I think. I don't blame them. Imagine how hot it was in those cars, Lee. It's so hot walking around in shorts and T-shirt, isn't it? With all the heat they get from the cars as well. That was hard work.
I think one thing that we need to look at as well is on the at the start of the race, Rocky and Martin came into the pits at the exact same time. And it was just one delay in the pit stop for Rocky, lasted a few seconds, and well, the result is Martin's there, third place with a podium. Rocky ended up dropping into P10.
Yeah, it could have been easily a better result for him. 10's okay, isn't it? From, you know, almost didn't start the race, did he? But you're right, it could have certainly been a top 6 finish for Rocky. But he keeps on banging in the points, Mike Rockenfeller. Keeps his record of point scoring finishes going in 2017. There's a great shot, a slow-mo of René Rast clenching his fists, grinning like a Cheshire cat, and look, just soaking it in. Maxime Martin with a brilliant drive to get on the podium, and I'm pleased to say he's talking to Verena.
Oh yeah, he did a really brilliant race, that's for sure. Maxime coming from all the way in the back, from 18 to 3rd place. How happy could you possibly be right now?
Yeah, it's just amazing. To be honest, I was not expecting this at all. But we pitted first lap and just tried. And because, you know, you have nothing to lose when you're starting last. And yeah, the tires stayed the whole race, which was good for me. I could really push from the beginning. And yeah, it was difficult to stay with the Audis, but I did it. And yeah, I'm so happy to be on the podium after this difficult weekend. And yesterday really hard. And yeah, I think it's a good answer for yesterday.
Oh, it certainly is. Congratulations, and back to you.
Thanks very much indeed. Yeah, that was a terrific drive, as I say, from Maxime Martin. Look at that slow motion, soaking in the champagne. That is a moment that's going to be replayed time and time again in the René Rast household. It's all about René Rast today. Our race winner, he's speaking with Verena.
A big whoop whoop for René Rast. That's really a phenomenal weekend you had here. First yesterday, your first pole, today again, and then your first victory. You're just the man of the weekend, and you got to be thrilled.
Yeah, I cannot describe this feeling in any words. I mean, it's unreal. It's so far away for me to be here, winning the race and being a championship leader now. It's, I think, quite extraordinary for a rookie to come here and be leading championship. So for me, it's quite, like I said, unreal. But I have to thank the boys for working so hard, and we never stopped believing and always worked hard for that.
You were dancing in the car, you were singing in the car, so I'm looking forward to, if you win again, what are you going to do next?
I mean, now we achieved everything we wanted to achieve. First of the season, I said podium would be nice. Then I said pole position would be nice. Then I said the win would be nice. Now we made everything, and we are still leading the championship. I mean, it's amazing. So if we can continue like that, I would be happy.
I was just going to say, the next step would then be winning the championship. You didn't say that, but I guess you were thinking that.
Of course, but still, this is even more far away. Still, we think from race to race and try to maximize our race weekends.
All right, so congratulations, enjoy the moment, and that's it from us here basically at the Hungaroring. What a fantastic weekend. The sun's coming out and it's just been brilliant, so here are the highlights of the day. Enjoy.
Go!